You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Hello and welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host Nesbit, and as Night Demon rolls through America on tour with Blind Guardian, the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is there. This is Night Demon on the road. So after a triumphant gig at the packed Fillmore Theater in Silver Springs, Night Demon continues on to the next show.
So after that show, we got a hotel outside of town, got a little bit of sleep, and the next morning traveled to Norfolk, Virginia, to a venue called the Norva. So it's spelled Norfolk, but it's pronounced Norfolk, and they will tell you that. And even at the venue, it says on the staircase walking up, it's Norfolk, and they spell it like, F-U-C-K. I'm sure many people on stage have said, "Hey, how you doing, Norfolk?" But yeah, it's Norfolk, Virginia.
Show 2 at the Norva in Norfolk, Virginia. And yes, it is pronounced Norfolk, not Norfolk, which most people would probably think. This venue even has stairs leading to the stage, and on the stairs it's written in big letters. It's pronounced Norfolk, so you don't get confused. I played this venue before 2 or 3 times, and that was with my old boss, Yngwie Malmsteen. This is a great venue. It's super, super cool because it's got the backstage everybody dreams of. There's an arcade, there's pinball machines and pool tables, and there's even a basketball court, and there's it's 3 floors, and there's even a big hot tub and 10 showers or something. It's pretty massive. It's always a pleasure to play there, and the staff is always great, super professional.
So the Norva and Norfolk have a little bit of history with me, as the singer in my first band that I did any heavy touring with, From Satellite, he was actually originally from Norfolk, Virginia. So I remember going on tour with them back in the day, back in the early 2000s, and playing out there. And it was a big deal because it was his hometown. I don't know if he had ever actually played that venue before because it's a pretty big place. And we went out to dinner with his uncle who owned a restaurant there, who was some crazy rich guy that just drove fucking Corvettes and had 20-year-old girlfriends, and would just pull up to the bar and pull up to his restaurant and just call inside and have him bring him out a 6-pack or whatever and just go cruise around town. Just a wild dude, man. It was a crazy time. But I remember back then This venue is really cool. They have one of the probably best backstages that I've ever experienced on the road in the States. 3 floors to the venue. Floor 1 is the venue itself, I think. Maybe floor 2. But floor 2. Floor 1 is the venue. Floor 2 is the backstage. Backstage, they've got a pool table, pinball machines, old school jukebox that plays 45s with a great selection of shit, and all the rooms. So great place to hang out. I think they had pinball, ping pong, air hockey, the whole thing, TV, couches, all that good shit. So the other special thing this place has is a jacuzzi on the next floor up. When I was there from Satellite, we were told, yeah, George Clinton was here last night. You might not want to use that jacuzzi. There was a lot of weird shit going on up there. So we took the advice of the people working there and did not use a jacuzzi. So going back there, we were really excited. They also have a fucking full half-court basketball court, indoor court on the 3rd floor, which we all took advantage of at one point or another. Shoot some hoops, get a little exercise. It's good stuff. So yeah, coming back to this place for me, and I know for Jarvis, I know he had played there, I think with No Motive back in the day, or had been there with them before. Cool stuff. So it was good to be back and check it out. And we were welcomed, of really cool staff.
And back in the days, it was like an old theater, like a vaudeville theater. And it was renovated a few times throughout the years. My old band, No Motive, played there, and Armand's old band from Satellite played there, 20 plus years ago. So this place has been going strong for a long fucking time. And Norfolk is never a town that Night Demon has played in.
The staff actually remembered me as I walked in. I was recognized pretty quickly from the previous times I played there, just because those nights were kind of unforgettable. There were just some issues, and they were not fun days, but definitely nothing wrong with the venue or anything. It was just one of those days, But yeah, this venue's great, and it was just another one that went off without a hitch.
Building up to the show again. Stage was a bit smaller, I think, at this place. But again, all the production you need and everything else. And again, we had another packed house. A packed house right at the beginning of the set. So, it's starting to feel good. Okay, another night where we got a great crowd and, just a really good reaction. And another big merch night, which was also awesome and really helpful on this tour because we had a lot of expenses.
The merch was kind of in a little corner, but I think overall merch, actually the sales were all right that night. So I noticed that my friend Sean that I mentioned, so Blind Guardian's merch guy, he while we were setting up, I noticed that he had his foot up on a stool behind his table. And he said that, so right at the start, they were traveling with a tour bus and a trailer, and the trailer had a door that opens like from the top down, and it turns into a ramp. The first time that this was opened, he was the one opening it, and the cable mechanisms on the side weren't there or didn't work or something. But basically this whole like few £100 door dropped on his ankle. So the poor guy, his ankle, he was like Elephant Man, like it was so huge and swollen, and he was an absolute trooper about it. So Sean got on with this the whole time, and at the end of the tour he went back home to San Francisco and he got his ankle checked out because it was kind of sitting a bit funny. He had done the whole tour with a broken ankle. So the poor lad, like he just decided it wasn't going to stop him. He really wanted to be on that tour. He absolutely loves Blind Guardian, and fair play, he did it.
The show was actually really good, and looking back on it, I don't know why, but it feels like this show was far into the tour, but it was only the second show. But that's how comfortable we had already felt with these guys and touring with this band. And hey, the fact we showed up on time again 2 days in a row, I was just really proud of that. I mean, it sounds like a small thing, but it is really important. And, Laura had plenty of time to mess with the lights. The lighting was phenomenal that night.
The lighting at the Norva, their in-house guy, Nate, he kind of worked with me to do a fair bit of reprogramming, just because their board was laid out in a way that's not really conducive for what we need, that was nice of him. He took time to kind of make things a bit more ergonomic, so that was cool.
The show was great. It was a packed house again. We made a lot of new fans. That's the trend on this tour. The guys from Mega Colossus showed up. That's another band, friends of ours from out there. Virginia, North Carolina combo there. And they were just super fucking cool. And they were really proud of us for being on this tour and representing kind of the next generation of heavy metal. So it was cool to rap with those guys. We decided to sign a broken cymbal and sell it, sold right away to somebody that had never heard of us. Again, just making a lot of new fans, a lot of new connections.
There was a big stall before the Chalice, and unfortunately, so I had the stage blacked out from the song before, which is what they want, so I couldn't see them, and I think they don't really, well, at that stage, they didn't realize that they can be up there mouthing stuff to me, and if the stage is blacked out, like I am right at the back behind the crowd, so I can't see anything at all. So I kept it blacked out, thinking that they're going to start, and then Armo told me like later, like, yeah, we were waiting for you to like light us up red and start the chalice. So fuck. But look, it's just one of those teething things. So I adjusted my set list so it said in like giant letters like I start first before the chalice, and that solved that problem.
Norfolk fucking Virginia! Are we feeling fucking good today? Have you been entertained so far? Well, thank you guys so very fucking much. We really appreciate Blind Guardian bringing us out on tour. We appreciate all you guys being here tonight. We can't do it without you. Thank you. One more for us here tonight. And we'll see you next time from Ventura, California. Night Demon!
one thing that happened, I remember, we loaded out after the show on the side of the stage, and we loaded out to this side area that's outside, kind of near like a smoking patio. And there was like a tented off area, and we had just loaded our gear out there. It takes a while to pack stuff up after we load it out, because we have to pack it up in a certain way in these cases where everything can fit. Basically, every cubic inch of the van is used for the gear. So we have to strategically do it, and you have to pack your stuff up so it doesn't get damaged in transit. And so it does take a while.
We had to load out. Basically, they pulled all our gear and threw it right outside into this kind of alleyway where they had some, tents set up. So you can be under these tents. And sure enough, good thing they had those fucking tents, because there was like a crazy downpour that came out of nowhere. Just rain, super heavy rain, It's at that East Coast, like coastal, gnarly, fucking super heavy sized rain.
The ground, it was concrete, just started to kind of flood from all areas. So we were picking stuff up off the ground. We were kind of in this mad rush, and we had our brand new scrims against the wall. And I was telling this guy, like a local stagehand, move those scrims. And he's like, no, they're fine. It's tented over there. I said, no, you have to move them. They're going to get wet. I know it. And sure enough, water just came, the tent, the water gathered up on the side of the tent, on the roof of the tent that was closest to the wall, and just gathered up so much water that the roof of the tent couldn't hold the weight. So water just came splashing down, just covering these things. And it's like, fuck, man, how are we going to dry these things out? It's pouring rain.
We had to keep kind of moving the gear, because even though the rain necessarily wasn't, it was building up on these tents. So there's a couple of spots where it was pooling up. And I remember Brian kept having to move his drums, and we kept having to kind of move things around as we were packing up to get it out of the way of the water that was kind of rushing in through the sides and all that shit. So, fun, extra shit to worry about while we're loading out and all that good stuff.
Not a big deal, but it was just frustrating because I asked the guy to move them, and he thought he knew better than me, but he didn't. So that's why you got to do it yourself sometimes. But another cool thing is our good friend Sean Weingartner has a friend named Marco who we met years ago, and he lived in Berlin for a while. It's a tattoo artist, and he's out from that Virginia area, which Sean is originally from. And he's since moved out to Vegas, but we've run into him a few times, and he's always a good guy. But his girlfriend, Heather, was there. We put her on the list. Sean asked us to do that, and we hung out with her, and we had a good time with her. And we were just, talking about the road and stuff like that. And it turns out, we were talking about how expensive hotels were and all this stuff. Well, it turns out she works for Hilton Hotels. And she was kind enough to set us up with an account, Hilton Honors account with the friends and family discount. I don't know if I should even be talking about this, but I am. So whatever. But it was an extreme help to us in saving some money on hotels and getting hotel discounts and being able to stay in hotels that weren't completely shitty and were actually pretty nice. So they own the Hampton Inn, and we stayed at a lot of Hampton Inns on this tour. And thank you, Heather, that you are amazing, and you have a lifetime pass with Night Demon.
But no, I remember all in all having a really great time there. We partied it up a little bit after the show in the backstage because, how could you not in a place like that? So that's it. Norfolk rocked. Moving on to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Show number 3, Charlotte, North Carolina at the Underground. So I recall that on this day, at some point, we got some correspondence from Blind Guardian's tour manager who said that their bus broke down and they would be arriving hours late. And that really sucks for us because we can't set up before the headliner. We set up on the stage in front of their equipment, and so they need to be up there first, and we don't get stage access until they're done sound checking, which is standard and normal. But when they're super late and they're going to arrive an hour before doors or something like that, then we don't get a sound check, and really they don't either. So that's never fun when that happens. And we start making jokes, because the previous tour we did with Satan, we had a bus that broke down a lot, and we made these jokes like, oh, maybe they got their bus from the same place that we got ours from.
Apparently, their bus had broken down the night before, or that morning, and we had not gotten any info about that, but that had happened, and we're like, well, shit. So we load in, and everybody's at the venue is just telling us, look, we're waiting for them. They've got their bus fixed, and they're on their way. So after we loaded in, they showed up shortly after that. We helped them load in. They looked obviously frustrated. See, the thing is, they load in at like 11 a.m. We load in at like 2 or 3. So that's a lot of time that they've lost. And so they have to set up their entire stage, which is not an easy task. They have a lot of stuff as far as, sound consoles and lighting and all this stuff. But what that does for us is that pushes us back. So having the gift of having all this time every day for us to do everything we need to do, now it's a big hurry up and wait for us. We get there on time and we have to wait. So we helped them load in. We did as much as we could to get them going. And I think they actually went without a sound check that day, which really helped us out a lot. But we didn't have too much time, but it wasn't too uncomfortable. We had enough time to get everything up there. The stage wasn't that big at that place, but the hall was big. I think there was probably 700-800 people there that night.
All right, so this is one of the first venues we went to where it was like, all right, you guys aren't going to have as much amenities at this place. The backstage was pretty small. The venue itself was pretty small comparatively to the first 2 gigs. So we were informed that we would not be having a backstage room at this venue, which is fine. The Blind Guardian crew and band is like, it's like 12 people. So, most of these venues have at least 3 or 4 dressing rooms. These guys only had 2. So we'll let them have their, have their spot. And we just kind of hung out. We kind of built ourselves a little nook next to the stage. There was plenty of room around the stage. It wasn't like a permanently built stage, so there was a lot of room for activity, like on the sides of the stage and all that. It was curtained off, so we just kind of made ourselves a little home there. I remember a funny thing before the show. We went to go eat. There was a brewery like a couple of doors down, and we went to go eat over there, and there was these 2 girls kind of hanging around, and I'm not really sure how the question came up, but they found out that we were opening the show and we were this band Night Demon.
There were these 2 women there who were there to see the show, and they see us there, and they ask if we're in a band or something, and we tell them, oh, we're playing the show. And they were like, oh, that's super cool. And I think it's at about this point we start realizing that the Blind Guardian crowd is a bit different than what we are used to. It's not so much the normal metal crowd. It's more of a mainstream audience that's a lot more open-minded, I want to say, actually. And but also there are people there coming to these shows that are just really into, and forgive me if I'm off the mark here, but I want to say Dungeons and Dragons and Lord of the Rings and fantasy stuff like that. They're really passionate about that, and not even so much about metal or rock music in general, but because Blind Guardian sings so much about this, it really attracts that audience. And we're starting to notice that, but really they seem to like what we do. But these two girls, they ask for an autograph, but they don't really have anything with them, and so they had a copy of The Hobbit, and they asked us to sign their copy of The Hobbit paperback book.
As she was a huge fan of Blind Guardian and Lord of the Rings, as many of their fans are, and as we are as well. So we got to sign a book by J.R.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings. Pretty interesting. I'm not sure if it was The Hobbit or which book it was, but yeah, that was a new one.
Total respect for all those people who are into that. We're all quote unquote nerds of some kind, you know, whether it's heavy metal that we nerd over, or Lord of the Rings, or sports stats, or video games, whatever. Everybody's passionate about something, and it's really cool that this kind of crowd can come together as one and enjoy Blind Guardian's music like that. And thankfully, they reacted very well to us.
But yeah, we had a great show that night. It was really cool. And, even though it was a kind of a smaller stage, we were able to do our full show, and it was packed in there, and we had a really good time.
again, the show was fucking packed for the size of the room it was. And we had a great night hanging out.
Kit came out. So everybody who listens to this show will know our good friend Kit. So that was really cool to see him. I think he came for 2 shows. So that was cool. And yeah, we had some different friends there. Albert and Jessica. Shout out, guys. Thanks for taking care of us.
I know, I think Jarvis and Brian ended up staying over at Albert's place. And, good old Kit Ekman was at that show as well. So, at the end of that show, we decided to hang out with Kit. He had extra room in his hotel room. So, myself, Jameson, J2, and Kit, we hit the town. We hit the bar. There was a bar around the corner that kind of seemed where everybody was going after the show, or at least a lot of the staff at the show we noticed were there, so that's always a good sign. And, threw back some beverages, caught up, talked a lot of shit. Good times. And that was Charlotte, North Carolina.
And again, we met a lot of friends there and a lot of new fans. So, but it was a good deal, and it was just good vibes all around. Again, this was turning out to be just a really pleasant time on this tour.
Well, that's it for this week as Night Demon rolls on through America on tour with Blind Guardian. Subscribers, as always, can listen to these full live shows in the subscriber section on nightdemon.net. More info on becoming a subscriber on the website, where you can get access to hundreds of audio files and full concerts in audio and video. Again, that's all on nightdemon.net. Until next time, this is Nesbitt, signing off.
Retribution comes for me. Carry on. All I know is my name. Playing in the country. Beyond the rim, that is where you'll find me. Beyond the grave, in shadow of myself. Bury the grim encounter, hoping the blood will wash away. But when's there some in the wolves to pray? Carry on. All I know is my name. Playing in the dark rain.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All hail, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. This is Dusty Squires chiming in to tell you about my brand new signature sticks from the London Drumstick Company. I've dreamt of having my very own drumsticks ever since I was a wee lad, and LDC made that a possibility for me. Founded in 2016 in London, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, the London Drumstick Company has trailblazed a path through the music industry and taken the drummer world by storm. When I met them for the first time, they knew their product was going to withstand the beatings of a Night Demon show. They took the time to work with me on getting everything just right. The balance and weight of my sticks are the same no matter what, and the durability is bar none the best I've ever had. I know my sticks will last through the set night after night. I'm truly honored to work with a company that caters to their players the way LDC does. Their innovation and attention to detail is what separates them from the rest of the stick makers out there. Their custom stick sleeves are unbelievable and really make the entire presentation complete. Wait until you see the design they came up with for me. It blew my mind and was a surprise to say the least. They have all kinds of amazing swag, including hoodies, t-shirts, drummer shorts, drum keys, stick bags, towels, face masks, practice pads, and much, much more. Even if you're not a drummer, you can be a part of Demon history and order my brand new signature sticks direct from their website. How cool is that? And to top it off, the London Drumstick Company are giving an exclusive offer to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. Go to londondrumsticks.co.uk and receive a 15% store-wide discount using promo code DEMONSTICKS. All capital letters, no spaces, Demon Sticks. DEMONSTICKS. I can't thank everyone there enough for the opportunity to be a part of their family and for them trusting me with their amazing products. See you metal maniacs on the road very soon. And yes, the wood chips will be flying.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. This is your comrade, the Crypt Keeper here, reporting dead from the sanctuary of the strange. Tonight's macabre myth is a fright-filled feature, one overflowing with monsters, madness, and magic.
Visit our website at monstersmadnessandmagic.com to stay up to date on all the dark dealings within the sanctuary of the strange. Enjoy the show.
Hey Metalheads, I'm Mark and I host the Metal Forge. Let me tell you about the show. The Metal Forge features the best underground metal from all over the world. We spend every week with a different artist with interviews, in-depth conversations, and most of all, the music. We also feature audience interactivity where you can submit your questions to the upcoming guests. New episodes are out every Friday at noon Eastern Time at metalforgeradio.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Okay, metalheads, you've been complaining that there has not been a channel that plays all of the heavy metal videos from past, present, and future for years and years at this point. Well, that time is over. Heavy Metal Television is back. HeavyMetalTelevision.net is the website. Go there. You can see videos playing 24/7, 365, all the time, all the best from the old school, the new school, and everything in between. Check it out, HeavyMetalTelevision.net. It is where the metal is.